is with great sadness that I must tell you that earlier this morning, around 3:30 a.m., Constable Sarah Beckett was in a serious motor vehicle collision. She was on duty at the time and did not survive the crash. She was 32 years old.
A West Shore RCMP officer killed on the job as the city sleeps. From Vancouver Island to Ottawa, remembering a Mountie and a young mom.
Her young children are home sleeping in bed, and while she's out protecting us.
Most of us don't get up in the morning and go to work thinking that our job is going to kill us, and I just really appreciate it.
Also tonight, a class action lawsuit from survivors of the Tofino whale watching tragedy.
CTV News at 6 with Andrew Johnson.
Good evening. A Vancouver Island tragedy is being felt from coast to coast. Early this morning, a 32-year-old RCMP constable was killed on the streets she was protecting when a pickup truck slammed into the side of her police cruiser. Her name was Sarah Beckett, an 11-year veteran, a wife, and the mother of 2 young boys. CTV's Scott Cunningham has more.
It's written on their faces, etched in their eyes. For first responders, this is a nightmare, all too real.
Today is a tragic and difficult day. Today we lost one of our own.
3:30 a.m. on Goldstream Ave and Pete Road. The first images of the accident caught on amateur video.
The truck came flying by underneath my deck at a pretty high rate of speed.
Jordan Coons heard the chilling impact of a speeding truck and a police cruiser. He would be the first person on scene.
But immediately the other officers that were there were yelling, "Sarah, Sarah, oh my God, she's got kids. Oh my God, get her out." And instinct just kicks in at that moment. Like, I cut my hand pretty bad trying to get the door open. And we just kind of, did what we did, right?
Inside the bent cruiser is Constable Sarah Beckett.
Sarah has been with the RCMP since 2005 and spent all of her 11 years of service on Vancouver Island, serving in Port McNeill, Langford, Colwood, and the Vancouver Island Integrated Major Crime Unit. Sarah was on shift this morning as part of the West Shore RCMP.
Shackled with grief, police turned to the investigation. Saanich PD called to lead the way. Officers say Constable Beckett was traveling east on Goldstream when she was struck by the pickup truck. The male driver suffered minor injuries and is now in police custody.
First thing he did was he asked how the officer was doing. He said, "Is the officer okay? Is the officer okay?" And I just looked at him, and my first reaction was, "I'm sorry, but I don't think she made it."
Jordan Coons says he didn't smell alcohol on the driver, but thought it looked like police were following the truck. Authorities are declining to comment. For those on the front lines, there are few words. One of theirs is gone.
Scott Cunningham joins us now live from Langford outside the West Shore RCMP detachment. Scott, what is the mood where you are tonight?
Andrew, just outside the detachment here in Langford, a memorial for Constable Sarah Beckett grows. Flowers are the offerings of a community truly broken by this morning's tragedy. Now, today, here, RCMP updated the public on what happened, and we can tell you they have done it again. This time in Surrey, high-ranking members saying little new, nothing new as far as alcohol being involved, and also nothing new as far as charges. Now, one thing we can tell you that is new is the West Shore RCMP is telling us there will be a book of condolences here in Langford at the West Shore detachment for anyone to sign, for those who remember this young constable who loved her and knew what she was doing on our streets. Andrew.
Scott Cunningham reporting live in Langford tonight. Thank you. The death of a police officer always hits hard, but this was also the death of a mother. And many people's thoughts turned right away to Beckett's young boys who will now grow up without a mom. CTV's Rob Buffum now with more on that part of the story.
It's a death that gutted perfect strangers.
It's just, they put their life on the line, and people just need to know that these guys do this job, and we love them, we need them.
A stream of people coming to pay their respects to Constable Sarah Beckett, killed in her police cruiser.
I just felt like I had to do something as small as it is to let them know we care.
Most of us don't get up in the morning and go to work thinking that our job is going to kill us, and I just really appreciate it and want to say thank you for what she had done.
Beckett has been with the RCMP on Vancouver Island for 11 years. The 32-year-old married mother recently returning from maternity leave.
This morning I met with her family, who must now start to deal with this absolute tragedy. Sarah leaves behind her husband and 2 young children.
The tragedy hitting everyone hard, none more than the RCMP family, like this retired member of the West Shore. Beckett's detachment.
Her young children are home sleeping in bed, and while she's out protecting us and the community, and she loses her life, and it's kind of beyond words.
But the impact of the young mother's death was felt broadly, from neighboring police departments flying flags at half-staff, all the way to the Prime Minister tweeting his condolences. To Langford's longtime mayor speaking for a community struggling to find words.
Our community is in shock about this. This is obviously the biggest tragedy that we've had in our community, ever since I've been the mayor for 23 years.
While police investigate the loss of one of their own, others can't stop thinking about the 2 West Shore kids who woke up without a mum.
What that family's going to go through the rest of their lives. You never, ever forget your parent.
Maybe, think about, being a parent and actually not being there one day for my children.
Constable Sarah Beckett won't be there for her kids. The heartbreaking aftermath of a dark day. Robert Buffum, CTV News, Langford.
A GoFundMe page has been started online to help support Sarah Beckett's family. It has already raised about $15,000 for her husband and 2 young boys. Campers on the lawn of Victoria's courthouse are free to stay indefinitely. The BC Supreme Court's top judge is refusing to grant the province a temporary injunction to oust people from the so-called tent city. CTV's Yvonne Raymond has more on the ruling and mixed reaction.
Tent City campers celebrate a major victory with their lawyer and supporters.
I was so nervous right up until now because it's an immense amount of work, and we're unprepared to where we were gonna all go,
But not everyone in the neighborhood is cheering.
There's so much stuff that has gone on that is harming these people who live around Tent City, that it's just hard for a reasonable person to say there's no harm that's going on. These people are threatened, literally threatened daily.
The BC Supreme Court's top judge has turned down a request for a temporary injunction that would push campers off the courthouse land.
I'm really happy that they ruled in our favor because it means me and my family get to stay together, man.
The written ruling saying the government didn't prove that it will suffer irreparable harm if an interim injunction is not granted.
I respect the court's decision in this matter.
The judge also worries that issuing an injunction would simply push the homelessness problems to other areas of Victoria.
Our primary goal is to work with those that are at that location to find housing solutions to them, finding solutions towards health care, finding solutions for mental care.
Victoria's mayor says the city will offer its support, but the next move must come from the legislature.
Now it's time for the province to step up and manage the site. Now, I don't know how you staff a tenting area in the middle of downtown, but again, we'll provide any input we can to the province.
It's unclear how many people are still calling Tent City home.
Thank you.
And while they celebrate now, their fight isn't over yet. The province could still win the right to kick them off this lawn at a trial set for September. Yvonne Raymond, CTV News, Victoria.
The whale-watching company involved in last fall's capsizing in Tofino has been hit with a class-action lawsuit. 2 German brothers claim Jamie's whaling station was negligent in the events leading up to and during the capsizing of the Leviathan II. The claim was filed on behalf of all the passengers aboard the Leviathan II. It names Jamie's whaling station, the owner, Jamie Bray, and the captain, Wayne Dolby, as the co-defendants. On October 25th of last year, 6 people were killed after the whale-watching boat capsized off the west coast of Vancouver Island. The brothers were aboard the vessel and claimed the defendants permitted the Leviathan II to be operated when they knew or ought to have known it was unsafe to do so in the sea conditions then existing. It goes on to say the defendants failed to have procedures in place and/or failed to follow such procedures to ensure the safe evacuation of passengers in the event of a capsize. As a result, the brothers claim to have suffered significant personal, physical, and psychological injuries, including nightmares, headaches, and PTSD. No dollar amount for damages was included. None of the allegations have been proven in court. In a statement to CTV News, Jamie's whaling station says, "All we can say is that we do not believe the vessel operator or crew were in any way negligent. The claim does say this was a very sudden and unexpected event. That is consistent with everything we know about the accident being caused by a rogue wave." A magnitude 3.2 earthquake struck near Lopez Island, Washington this morning and had buildings shaking from downtown Victoria to the campus of UVic. Lopez Island is located in the San Juans, about 39 kilometers east of Victoria. The quake hit at a depth of about 50 kilometers. Some office workers in downtown Victoria tell CTV News their building started shaking and employees ran from their cubicles. Some encouraging news on the health front tonight. The BC Nurses Union has reached a tentative agreement with the province's Health Employers Association. The 5-year tentative agreement covers nearly 42,000 nurses working across the province. No details of the agreement will be released until after the ratification vote, which will take place over the next few weeks. However, the Nurses Union says the deal improves conditions for nurses, including better benefits, compensation, and working conditions. The province says it is satisfied with the deal. People in Deep Bay are keeping a close watch over a cluster of abandoned boats. They've been tied together and left to rust and fall apart. Last week, one sank and pulled a second down with it. Now a large tugboat is taking on water, and if it sinks, it could shut down the local shellfish industry, taking dozens of jobs with it. The rest of the story in 60 seconds. Concern is growing tonight over a cluster of derelict boats in Deep Bay. 2 of them sank last week, and a large tugboat is now taking on water. If it goes down, it could spell disaster for nearby shellfish growers. CTV's Gord Kurbis reports.
But you can see the list on it. It is down in the water.
A boat filled with local stakeholders circles around what has become a growing eyesore and environmental concern. A flotilla of derelicts all tied together.
We wanted to see the concern being raised by local residents that there's more boats that are ready to go down. Right now, the Silver King is taking on water.
The Silver King is still tied to 2 vessels that sank overnight on Thursday. Many are concerned the tug could now also go down.
Really, it's horrible for local residents to have to look at this. It's got huge navigational issues. There's no lighting on those boats, so people coming through really are at huge risk. So we have potential for a lot of disaster here.
It's actually a floating junk raft. There's stuff in there. There was chickens living on the deck.
Keith Reed has an oyster lease right near the flotilla. Environment Canada has put him on notice that if the vessel sinks, farms like his could be shut down for a year.
It's extremely frustrating. About a year ago, over a year ago, we had John Duncan and Chief Riquelme out on to view the boats and said something has to be done. This is an imminent threat to our industry, and nothing's happened.
Despite that imminent threat, locals, including Vancouver Island University's Shellfish Research Center, say little has been done.
VIU has been working towards having these boats removed for 3 or 4 years now, and the process is so slow and painful that, it's just an ongoing activity that we take part in.
Coast Guard crews have been keeping an eye on the situation, and today a Transport Canada aircraft circled overhead. But the situation appears much worse. Underwater video obtained by CTV News today shows there are actually 5 sunken vessels under the flotilla.
I brought this up in a conversation with Minister Tutu in early December, the concern around derelict vessels, and yesterday I sent an urgent letter asking the government to take immediate action because of the impact of the threat of the circumstances that are happening today.
A private member's bill on derelict vessels is expected to take at least a year and a half to make it to the House of Commons, but those who live and work here say action is needed now. Gord Kurbis, CTV News, Deep Bay.
A small crowd gathered outside BC Hydro headquarters in downtown Vancouver today to support a fellow critic of BC's Site C Dam project. A delegation from the Treaty 8 Tribal Association and some supporters wanted to thank Kristen Henry. The 24-year-old was taken to hospital last week after falling ill nearly 3 weeks into a hunger strike she was holding in protest of the controversial dam project.
It was really frustrating that I did spend 20 days not eating and my health got to that point and I still had no acknowledgement from the BC Liberal government, BC Hydro, or the Trudeau government.
Henry says she'll be back at the camp to support her fellow protesters after taking some time to recover from her ordeal. A judge in Seattle has sentenced former Surrey soccer coach Kelly Mahal to 7 years in prison for trying to meet someone for sex someone Mahal thought was a child. Mahal pleaded guilty in January following his arrest in February 2015 at a park south of Bellingham. Police said Mahal believed he had been corresponding with a 12-year-old girl when he sent sexually explicit text messages and photos. It turned out it was an American undercover agent. Court records said Mahal continued communications even after the agent claimed she was 12. Police in 2 Metro Vancouver cities are warning about an increase in violent smartphone thefts. Crooks are targeting strangers on the street and people selling their phones online. CTV's Shannon Patterson reports.
We can't keep our hands off our smartphones, and apparently neither can thieves.
There are individuals out there willing to commit robberies and sometimes violent robberies in order to get them.
For 3 years, cell phone theft has been dropping in Vancouver, but not anymore.
So far, year to date, we've had 40 robberies, and that compares to 31 last year. So we're seeing a rise. We see numerous robberies that involve anything from intimidation to the use of physical force or weapons.
It's happening in Abbotsford, too. Since February, 3 people who listed iPhone 6s for sale on Craigslist have been pepper sprayed and robbed by someone responding to the ad.
In all 3 of the circumstances, the moment from the introductions to the spraying is pretty quick. We believe that once the suspects get a clean eye shot of the phone, recognize that it's present, then they just spray the victim, take the phone, and they're on their way.
This tech expert says there's a reason thieves target phones that have been reset for resale.
It's so difficult to crack into an iPhone or an Android phone. It's next to impossible. They want the ones that are factory clean so that there's no passcodes or IDs.
Crooks who steal active smartphones are hoping the device has lax security.
If they've stolen it out of your purse, if you've already got your lock code on the screen and your Apple ID or your Google ID in there, it's really difficult for them to then reactivate that again later.
That $1,000 phone is worthless if they're locked out.
Up next, would you care for some crickets with your cookies? How about a mealworm taco? We'll show you what else is on the menu at this year's Pestival. And covered in creativity, Adam finds out how this couple transformed a disappointing house into a dynamic home. That's at 5 to 7 on the Sawatsky Sign-Off. When you buy a big-ticket item like a car, the salesperson will often try to upsell you on extras like those third-party extended warranties. But a man from New Westminster wishes he had never taken that bait. CTV's Ross McLaughlin shows us why.
Ed Remersma bought his Nissan Cube 6 years ago.
It's actually a pretty good car as far as cars go.
Has it ever been in for major repairs?
Other than oil changes, never.
But he had peace of mind just in case with this 6-year warranty he bought. It cost more than $2,300, but he wasn't worried about the price because
we assumed we were going to get it back, and then we found out we can't get it back.
He says they were told they would get most of their money back if the warranty wasn't used.
That's a guaranteed price rebate.
This box should have been checked, and according to the paperwork, an extra fee would have been charged for the rebate.
I trusted them to fill out the paperwork.
This is absolutely a new one on me. I have not seen this before.
But Bruce Cran with the Consumers Association of Canada generally warns against car warranties. And Consumer Reports has found that typically needed repairs on new cars often cost less than the premiums paid for the mechanical breakdown insurance. Typically, new cars come with a 1-year warranty or more from the manufacturer.
I think this is a very profitable line for the third-party insurers. And the other thing, of course, is there are very high commissions paid out on these things.
Remersma tried to get the dealer to rebate some of the money, but
I got frustrated with the dealers. They weren't returning our calls. They said, oh yeah, we'll get back to you. And then I left messages. They didn't get back to me.
And he only got this letter from Maury Nissan of Coquitlam after he complained to the Better Business Bureau. It states there was full disclosure in the contract that was signed. And would he buy a warranty again?
I wouldn't have regretted it, but now I do because I ain't getting the warranty back.
Ross McLaughlin, CTV News.
Here's a question for you. Would you like crickets on your cookies? That was one of the sweet treats being served at Camosun College last night.
We just ate bugs.
For the second year, Camosun students held their popular Pestival. It's a chance to invite the public in for a taste of something that might be common in other parts of the world, but not in North America. Some of the items included mealworm tacos and cricket crackers.
Very interesting. You can't discern any cricket powder in it, so tastes good.
Well, it's delicious, but I masked the cricket. I'm a coward.
Well, the United Nations came out with a report in 2008 that said that if we're going to feed a growing population, and we have perhaps 9 billion people on this planet by the year 2050, that we need to be thinking about alternative sources of protein, and insects fit the bill.
If you want more insect ingesting, it will be the focus of Bruce Williams' Foodie Friday feature this week. An injured California sea lion rescued from the shores of Salt Spring Island is now recovering at the Vancouver Aquarium's Marine Mammal Center. The center says it received several reports of the male sea lion in distress. When rescuers arrived, the animal was thin and in very poor condition. The sea lion is believed to be 5 to 7 years old. It was transported to Vancouver last night, where it will remain under intensive observation. All eyes are on Wisconsin tonight in the race for the White House. People in that state will weigh in tonight's primary vote. Hillary Clinton is leading the Democrats, but still can't seem to shake Bernie Sanders. It's been a rough week for GOP frontrunner Donald Trump, partly because of new remarks he made about who will pay for that wall he promised to build on the Mexican border. A full report from Washington just ahead. First, Astrid is here with your 90-second forecast. We have confirmed it. It will still hit 20 degrees soon.
It looks really nice heading into Thursday and Friday. You're right. We've got some improvement coming our way starting tonight for the South Island. So the gray skies are going to start to clear up for Greater Victoria this evening. Up around the north end of the island, you've got a few lingering showers through early tomorrow morning, but we do see a nice sunny warm break coming our way for the end of the week. Temperatures in the mid-teens for tomorrow, so enjoy that. 14 to 15 degrees for most of the capital region. Mix of sun and clouds to the Cowichan Valley over to Salt Spring Island, with your warmest temperatures around Duncan at 16 degrees tomorrow afternoon. West coast of the island, Port Renfrew to the Ucluelet areas, you're seeing mainly cloudy skies with a few breaks in the clouds, but a couple of occasional showers through Tofino and up to Gold River and Tassus for tomorrow midday, and then you see some sunshine breaking through as well. Port Alberni, you've got about a 30% chance of some lingering morning showers, but otherwise a few breaks in the clouds, a few sunny breaks there. 13 degrees through Courtney Comox, 14 in Nanaimo tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds in Parksville and the North Island. Also seeing some sunshine here and there, but we've got some showers at times up towards Port Hardy. Here is your extended forecast, which is brought to you by Train. And remember, it's hard to stop a train. So looking to Thursday and Friday, if you're up around the North Island, dry for you. Varying degrees of cloud for Saturday, Sunday, but nice all in all. The mid-island, you're going to see this ridge of high pressure really build and bring your temperatures up to the high teens to round out this week and head into the weekend. Victoria still looking at those highs to 20 degrees on Thursday and Friday, slightly cooler on the weekend, but nice and sunny.
It simply protects someone's religious views against the state's interference.
Up next, religious freedom or legalized discrimination. Controversy is growing over a new bill signed into law today in the U.S. A full report when CTV News at 6 continues. More on our top story now. A West Shore family and Mounties right across the country in deep mourning tonight after an RCMP constable was killed in a brutal crash. Sarah Beckett, a mother of 2 young children, was on duty when it happened. As Binder Sudgeon reports, the investigation is now focused on the driver of a pickup truck.
The crumpled aftermath of a deadly crash is tough to look at.
It gives me anxiety. It's really bad. I mean, I can't imagine anybody surviving that.
Around 3:30 a.m. in Langford, a pickup and RCMP cruiser collided. Half an hour later, paramedics announced an officer was dead.
Today is a tragic and difficult day. Today we lost one of our own.
32-year-old Constable Sarah Beckett spent 11 years on the force. Some of the first to witness the wreckage, her colleagues.
You could tell that people were really upset and screaming and yelling and very emotional. yelling.
Beckett leaves behind a husband and 2 kids. How and why her life was cut short, not yet known.
We have an investigation into the traffic accident. Saanich Police is helping us with that, and we also have the investigation, a criminal investigation.
The driver of the truck was taken into custody. Police won't say if alcohol was a factor. Outside the detachment, a growing tribute. Cheryl Williamson and many others honoring an officer they didn't even know.
They need to know we support them. And it's just, they put their life on the line.
Most of us don't get up in the morning and go to work thinking that our job is going to kill us. And I just really appreciate it.
Those sentiments echoed coast to coast. In a tweet, the Prime Minister offered his condolences.
She won't be forgotten, and it's so appropriate that that statue is of a woman.
That statue stands outside Beckett's detachment and now takes on new meaning for a grieving community. Binder Sudjan, CTV News.
Iceland's Prime Minister has announced he's stepping aside, the first casualty of the so-called Panama Papers. The Prime Minister handed the reins of Iceland's ruling party to his second-in-command this morning. His offshore holdings were revealed in the biggest data leak in history that's ousted many of the world's elite politicians and business people. The blowback has been fast and fierce, especially in Iceland's capital, where protests erupted. At least 350 Canadians have been linked to these so-called Panama Papers. And NBC News is now projecting that Bernie Sanders and Ted Cruz have won their respective primaries in Wisconsin. A major controversy is brewing in the southern U.S. as another state passes what it calls a religious freedom law. But critics see it as a thinly veiled license to discriminate against gays and lesbians.
The announcement from Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant came on Twitter and Facebook. Despite calls for a veto, he signed the state's controversial religious rights bill, allowing businesses, churches, and others to refuse service to same-sex couples based on religious beliefs.
It simply protects someone's religious views against the state's interference.
Reaction swift on social media. I've never been more disgusted in the state of Mississippi, but also support. How is passing the bill considered hate? Tonight, the ACLU saying it will serve as the Magnolia State's badge of shame. Others calling it sanctioned discrimination.
Mississippi needs only to look as far as North Carolina to see how damaging discrimination can be to a state's reputation and to a state's economy.
PayPal today canceled plans for a 400-job expansion, citing North Carolina's new law limiting protection for transgender people. And Atlanta joined a growing list of cities and states banning publicly funded travel there. But in Georgia, a religious liberty bill was vetoed after big companies threatened to take business elsewhere.
It's hard to find an animal more loyal than a dog, and you're about to meet a very special one who put her life on the line for American soldiers.
Big girl. Right there, you're watching Luca, a German Shepherd on active patrol in Iraq. She's at the front leading her team, sniffing out deadly explosives. 400 separate missions, 6 years of service, protecting U.S. troops. No human lives ever lost during her patrols. Big girl. Her final mission came on March 23, 2012. She sniffed out an IED, discovering it with her handler, Corporal Juan Rodriguez. He called for backup. That's when a second IED exploded. They had to amputate her front leg. Corporal Rodriguez with her the whole time during surgery, recovery, sleeping by her side. And tonight, word of a new honor. The Dickin Medal, the highest British military honor of valor, awarded to service animals. This time, that medal for Luca.
It feels kind of empowering to know that my flaws are going to be embraced.
Up next, it was all a joke. That's what American Eagle is saying tonight about a new ad campaign that went viral. But critics aren't laughing. We'll show you why.